Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a drama from Australia, English language, released in the year 2023, directed by Jack Clark and Jim Weir, and this film is called Birdeater. So Birdeater is about a soon-to-be married couple. They're planning out their wedding, and the soon-to-be groom decides he's going to throw a bucks party. So he's going to invite all of his male friends to the countryside, but there's going to be a bit of a twist, because he's going to invite his soon-to-be bride and one of her friends. And so this is a very odd situation. Usually a bucks night is for the boys, but these women accompany the soon-to-be groom. They meet up with the friends and things seem to be going along fairly smoothly, but then unfortunately one evening some home truths come out that really complicates the situation. So not only does this put the future marriage in limbo, but it also threatens to destroy the friendships that everyone has managed to create. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Birdeater. This is a movie that came with a lot of accolades. This is a film I was actually quite excited for. Now, I didn't really hear too much about it before, the 2 weeks before I actually saw this on sale. I thought to myself, this is in the coming soon catalogue in one of the websites here in Australia. And I thought, okay, Birdeater, what's this all about? When I read up about it, a lot of people actually liked this. It was actually a festival favourite when it was doing the rounds in Australia. And so I thought, all right, well, this is definitely very interesting. And so what was this going to produce? It billed itself as a thriller, a very dark thriller, and that's really up my alley. And so I thought, all right, well, I'm actually quite excited for this. And so having my fingers crossed that this is going to be an Australian knockout, right up there with films such as Killing Ground, Wolf Creek, all those really sort of realistic horror films, whereas this movie is more of a thriller. I thought hopefully it was going to possess that same sense of realism and be a real sort of endurance test to actually get through. But unfortunately, after watching Birdeater, I was really disappointed with this movie. Now, that's not saying that this is a bad film. It's far from a bad movie. There are sporadic moments in this movie that are absolutely brilliant and make it worth watching, but unfortunately the disappointment comes from the fact that it should have been so much better. This movie does fall victim to what I don't like about Australian cinema, which is something I'll go into a little bit later, but I just don't share the love that this movie has. A lot of people absolutely adored this film. They thought it was absolutely fantastic, each to their own. If you're one of those people and you want to share your opinions and disagree with what I actually have to say about the film, please feel free. But if I'm being brutally honest, I expected so much more from Birdeater, and I couldn't help but feel that there was a much better film actually hiding in amongst all of that, as I said, that sporadic brilliance that the film possesses. So to start off with, this is a film that is very similar to Wake in Fright. Now, Wake in Fright was a societal problem of alcohol and the consumption of alcohol, and how reliant Australian culture is on the alcohol. When it comes to males, you got to have another beer, have a beer, you're not a man if you don't have a beer. That sort of culture was really emphasised in that movie in a very dark and unnerving way. And Birdeater possesses that same sort of quality, but this is toxic masculinity. So this is having a look at the Australian culture of young adults, young men, and what they go through and how you have to act. Society says you have to act a particular way, and you have to maintain that way even if you don't feel comfortable. And so this creates a lot of awkwardness, and Birdeater definitely possesses a lot of really awkward moments, and that is the toxic masculinity. I don't like that term, but toxic masculinity definitely exists, and it exists in this movie to the point where it actually had a lot of reminiscent qualities of Wake in Fright. Now, yes, Wake in Fright is a completely different film, but it does put under the microscope those themes, and themes that a lot of Australians can actually relate to. Now, for me, my male friends, we go through things that are not appropriate, and we probably shouldn't do them, but as I said, you have that societal set of rules, and you have to follow those rules, otherwise you don't quite feel as though you're up there. You feel as though you're letting yourself down, you're letting your friends down, and it's that societal problem, and it's something that everyone needs to look at, because it's not the way you really should live. This was me in my much younger days. Now that I'm much older and a lot wiser, I should look back on that and I cringe a little bit, because whether it's alcohol consumption, Australia has a massive problem with alcohol consumption, especially between young males, and in this film it's just the behaviour, on a bucks party in this particular occasion. I just thought as though some of the behaviour is something I could really relate to, and yes, it's that awkwardness, but it's that awkwardness that really needs to be discussed. And so this is a film that does take on toxic masculinity in a very subtle way, but but the subtleties actually make you feel very uneasy. This is a film that once again possesses a lot of what Wake in Fright had. It's a very surreal type of movie where you feel as though you're in a waking nightmare, and that nightmare is just getting worse and worse, and when some home truths come out within these characters, this is the awkwardness that is just magnified. And so the whole film has a really uncomfortable feeling. The discomfort is definitely one word I would use to sum up Birdeater. The cinematography is excellent. Now, I thought the acting was fantastic. The script was very good. It was actually very interesting. I thought the dynamics between this group of friends was actually quite decent. You know, people who are about to get married, they act a lot differently to their single friends. You know, when you're single, you have this mentality that nothing can stop you and that you're carefree, but when you're getting married, this is something that's a little bit different. And I thought the torment of the main character when he was going through trying to please his friends, but at the same time try and please the one that he's going to spend the rest of his life with, I thought that psychological battleground was getting more and more unnerving as the film goes on. There are sporadic moments of absolute brilliance in this film. There was one scene in particular that involves a naked lady in a very desolate area, and I'm not going to give anything away, but that was really surreal and extremely uncomfortable. It actually felt like a nightmare. It's the really weird dream that things, as I said, it's that awkwardness, it's that emphasizing the sense of awkward that makes you feel really uncomfortable as a viewer. And so as far as psychology is concerned, it really nailed what this movie was trying to do. And so it's something that I definitely feel a lot of young Australians can relate to, and that is definitely the best thing about Birdeater, is that it really makes you uncomfortable because the vulnerability is there. The vulnerability of looking yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, this is what society is all about, and what can you do to change that? So as I said, the acting was fantastic. The soundtrack was a little bit hit and miss. There were some moments that were really good, some moments that just felt a little bit out, but that's not a massive problem. I thought there was some exchanges of dialogue that were very menacing. And the whole film has that simmering tension that something is going to explode. And so it promises a really sort of theatrical ending, and that's what keeps you going from start to finish. But unfortunately, this is the major issue I have with this movie. I felt as though this is a film that is a boxer. It's like a George Foreman boxer who has knockout power, but instead of going for that knockout, decides to play it easy and just win on points. And so it just fizzes out to absolutely nothing. And so this is a film that I thought, all right, the tension was there, the unbearable quality of what's behind the corner was actually having me on the edge of my seat. But at the end of the film, this is the problem I have with a lot of Australian movies. It just fails to really deliver that knockout punch. This movie could have really gone over the boundaries of decency, over the boundaries of comfort, but the movie does play it safe to some degree. I just thought as though it just fizzed out to nothing by the end of it. And I thought all that build up, all that tension, it needed to be released, but it wasn't released in a satisfactory way. And this is unfortunately the problem I have with a lot of Australian films. I almost feels as though the directors of these movies are scared to really push that limit. And so yes, it wants to talk about feelings, yes, it wants to talk about societal issues, but it doesn't really want to have that knockout blow. And so I thought the whole film was building to something that never really amounts to, and that to me is why I was so disappointed with this experience. This is a film that could have really dared to be provocative, really, really offensive, but I just felt as though that simmering quality that the movie has, it just fizzes out and it just feels really unsatisfying. And that's ultimately the issue I had with this movie. Some of the pacing was a little bit off. I thought there were some unnecessary moments that could have been edited out here and there, and it just doesn't complement the sporadic moments of brilliance that this movie has. And so I thought as though there were really good moments, but unfortunately there were bad moments that sort of contradicted and prevented this movie from really spreading out its wings and showing its true potential. I just thought as though it is paying homage to films like Wake in Fright, but unfortunately it just doesn't have that sinister punch. There's simmering, the tension is there, but unfortunately it just fails to deliver. And so I was really, really disappointed with what I got, because this should have been a brilliant film, but it just fails to really end in a way that I thought really complements the tension and the build-up and the suspense that the movie has going for it. And so as far as characters are concerned, as far as situational aspects of the movie are concerned, it's all very impressive, but unfortunately as far as gelling all together as one whole piece, it just felt very inconsistent. So that's unfortunately the issue I had with Birdeater, but pushing that aside, if you come across it on Netflix, you come across it for free, definitely give it a watch if you're into this sort of thing. It's definitely a lot worse out there, but unfortunately I couldn't help but feel as though it should have been a lot better. I'm going to give Birdeater 3 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.